Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Right on, writers, and welcome first-time viewers to the Books by Adrian author platform and our flagship show, Livestream Sunday. If you are new, my name is Adrian Santiago. I'll be your host today, and every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same time, same channel every week. We have 4 more episodes scheduled for this season of Livestream Sunday. I'm so glad that you're here for episode 12. I thank each and every one of you for your time and support. It means everything to me. Seriously, guys. Thank you for coming. Please subscribe if you are not subscribed already. Hit those notification bells and all that good stuff. Don't forget to leave a like. Doing this helps the channel to reach more people and grow. And if you don't make it to the live show and you're catching this on the replay, take a moment to leave a comment down below telling us how you'd like your novel to be published. What is your publishing strategy? All right, everybody. Let's get my big old mug and mane on here. What's up? Today's episode will feature 3 short segments, totaling out to a 1-hour runtime. We'll take some questions from the chat in the 3rd segment. And throughout the show, please label any questions with for either guest, with a big Q so I can easily find them in the chat when the time comes. All right, enough of the business. Let's get to it. We have Collective Tales Publishing with us today. I'm actually really psyched about this because one half of this crew was on the show last season talking about his writing. And today we're going to talk about this awesome publishing company that he started with his partner. So let's check this out. Collective Tales is a publisher owned and operated by Jonathan Reddoch and Elizabeth Suggs. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I didn't get a chance to check with her. I'm sorry. Ms. Suggs' mission is to help writers edit and publish their manuscripts. Mr. Reddoch has been fighting a decade-long war against his epic sci-fi manuscript, and I can't wait to ask him about that because boy, can I relate. They both contribute stories to their published collections as well. It'll be so nice to get the perspective of people on both sides of the publishing game. So please help me to welcome to the show Collective Tales Publishing, represented by Elizabeth Suggs and Jonathan Reddoch. All right, so Jonathan, you are muted. So let's, there we go. And welcome, Jonathan and Elizabeth. I'm going to give you each a moment to introduce yourselves. We're going to go ladies first with Ms. Suggs here. Please take the floor. Let our guests at home know who you are, where you're from, and what you got going on.
Cool. Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and you did say my last name correctly. So yeah, it was Suggs. Yeah. So I'm an editor, a writer, and I usually I live in Utah, but I am currently in Swansea, Wales, to study for a master's and for a creative writing master's to just get more into the publishing world. And yeah, I love to help people. I love to write different things. And I'm also the president of a romance writing group. And we just barely published Meet Cute, which is like a cute at first meeting type of ebook. So it's Cute at First Meet, and it's an ebook. So definitely check it out.
Very, very nice. Thank you very much, Ms. Suggs. And I'm so glad that I did pronounce that correctly.
Yeah.
Jonathan, why don't you go ahead and take the wheel next here?
Yeah, so I'm Jonathan, and I've been writing, I don't know, a long time. But, there's a long period where I sort of got out of fiction and into, education writing. But then I got back into it after I met Liz, and we got our company together. And I write a lot of horror is a big thing that I write because that's the one that people want to pay for. So, but yeah, I do have a novel that I've been working on for a long time. That's almost done. That will probably be almost done until the day I die, maybe.
The great work of your lifetime, right? The one that takes like forever.
Yeah. My magnum opus.
Yeah, I can relate, man. I talk a lot about on this channel about this graphic novel that I started with a group of friends. and you know, it was so much fun to plot it out with them, and we plotted out this epic series, and then you know the plotting was done, and it came down to me to actually write the thing, and I'd never written anything before, and so like 7 years later, I'm like, you know what, maybe I'm not cut out to write this thing right now. Maybe I'm not ready. I need to set it aside. It's just it's been coming soon for 7 years. It's time to just like, all right, you know, this isn't working. Let me put this aside, and started working on my actual novel. So you know, and finished the first draft, and I'm halfway through editing it, so it's bananas.
Nice.
Welcome in the chat. So far we have SD. Is it Houston or Huston? See, me and last names. As people roll in, make sure that you go ahead and leave questions in the chat for our guests, marked with a Q so that I can find them later on. All right, so let's get into it here, guys. That's gonna be right in my face. Let's get into this. We're gonna go ahead and start the interview. So she actually confirms that it is like Houston.
Oh, cool.
Or Shannon. Welcome, Shannon. I think this is our first time seeing Shannon here. I don't recognize you. You must be from my friends here's side of things. Maybe they brought you. All right. So first thing I want clarified for me, guys, is the difference between collective tales and collective darkness, because I see both representing things on your side of things. I'm not sure which one is which. I know the publishing house is Collective Tales, right?
Right. Yeah. So Collective Tales is the name of our publishing house, our company, our little baby. And Collective Darkness was our first book. And then we had Little Darkness, and then we recently
and the Deluxe Darkness.
And the Deluxe Darkness, yeah.
I have it just here, so I was like, I should.
Deluxe.
Yeah, so the Deluxe Darkness it's got the first two plus the new one, which is the Darkness Between. So yeah, right. So you know, with the branding, we do use the Collective moniker a lot. So like we're gonna have coming out next month. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, in December. Yeah, but it's pretty much done. We're just finalizing formatting.
That's Collective Fantasy.
So short story collections, each one with like a different theme, different genre.
Exactly.
All under Collective banner. I like it. Simple, recognizable from a distance. I like it. Which of you had the idea to build this publisher, and how did the process begin between you?
Well, I mean, Liz started before I even met her, she was working on Collective Darkness in her writing group. And then, you know, with the pandemic and everything, we were kind of like, let's just, because she had brought me on board and I ended up helping her with the book, and we worked so well together that I think it was probably her idea, or I don't remember.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I feel like we were just working on it as friends, and then it just was like, well, we should make this official. Let's make this into a company. And I think that because before it just felt like I was getting more of the recognition, and I don't think that was fair. Because I think Jonathan has done a lot of work, and I think that it's like, you know, it's a partnership, and you know, so that creating the company made just it more fair, I think, and it just made it more official too. Collective Tales Publishing is a pretty cool name, so
it is an official company.
I like it. Yeah,
I mean, I don't mind.
It's like round and chocolatey at Collective Tales. I like it. It sounds good.
I do like chocolate.
Oh, I came up with the name Collective Tales because I really like the title that Liz had come up with, Collective Darkness, and so I was like, what if we just keep collectiving things, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, I'm very comfortable letting Liz kind of be the face of the company, because you know she has such a nice, pretty face that I think it works.
I do see more of her on the Instagram than of you.
Hey, I'm trying to get him on. I'm trying to get him on way more, but he does not.
No, actually, I'm on there a lot more because she nags me about it.
Now,
because I will, you know, when we're working together, I'll take photos, and then we have photos that we can use. She doesn't take photos of me, so I just want to point that out.
I'm actually kind of terrible. Like it's like just in general, if I go out with like any kind of friend, they'll take a lot of pictures of me, or not even just me, just like of anything that's happening. And so I I used to be really bad about taking pictures, so now I'm like consciously being like, okay, I need to take pictures of not, like of things, and because I wouldn't take pictures of buildings either. I was a terrible tourist. So
Well, I definitely like the sort of personality that you bring to the posts on your Instagram specifically,
thanks.
because as a publishing house, it's definitely way more fun than most that I've seen, on social media.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you guys do like really cool stuff. Like for Halloween, you had some cool like and you do a lot of cosplay stuff, don't you, Elizabeth?
hmm I
Right
do.
on, right on. All right.
We-
So what was the first work you guys published together then? Was it the Collective Darkness?
mhm.
It was
Okay.
Collective Darkness. Yeah.
All right, right on. And how often do you release new books under your banner?
Well, we've been doing it. Honestly, it feels kind of like every 6 months or something, because it was like Collective Darkness in September, and then Deluxe Darkness. Well, and then we did. So we worked on Meet Cute, but that was or the Cute at First Meet, but that was like a separate thing. But we did that together, and that was in the summer. But then Deluxe Darkness just barely, and then we'll do Collective Fantasy
Yeah.
in December. So it kind of is on average every 6 months, I guess. We could average it out. I mean, I'm a writer, I'm not a mather, so
You know, matter.
A mather.
I don't know if that's the right word. Yeah, like our
Where's your
next
English?
one
yeah,
is
you know.
the sci-fi one, and we're probably going to do that, publish it in the summer or fall next year,
Mhm,
and then we're going to work on Collective Chaos, which is the dystopian one, which I'm really excited about. Will be the following
mhm.
year. We have Collective Humanity, which is our charity book that we're
Mm,
working with local
I saw
Utah
that. I
LGBT.
saw
Yeah,
that. Yeah, that was being talked about. Talk a little bit about that on your Instagram and everything. What's
yeah. So
going on
one of
there?
our writers, one of our favorite writers is, or maybe we shouldn't say favorite. We don't play favorites.
Oh,
One of our writers that we enjoy.
the tea has been spilled.
Oh no. Um, Austin Slade Perry also does charity work with the Royal Court of the Golden Spike Empire, doing drag shows and things like that. And so he approached us to actually approach Liz first, and then I was like, I want to be involved, and then we made it an official Collective Tales thing. And so we're going to make this book, and we're going to donate 100% of the net profit. So after printing and all the costs like that, to this local charity that helps LGBT youth and things like that. So
Right on. Right on. I love it. Now, it sounds like you guys obviously under Collective Tales, it sounds like you're putting out a lot of collections, a lot of short story stuff. You guys have you been putting out like full-length novels? Will you be? What's going on there?
We haven't, but that's not something we haven't ruled out. We have played with that idea. I think for right now, it's nice to do the short stories because it's not just about the fact that it's a collection of really bite-sizable, like tales. It's also about the fact of getting all these authors together, because
Mm,
the idea is, I think, what we really succeed at is how we are a community. We build up these authors who probably wouldn't normally have this like presence online, or even just like the exposure to selling books, right? Because we do a
right.
lot of stuff in person, but we do have authors from all around the world. And since I'm currently in the UK and Jonathan's in Utah still we do a lot of stuff online as well. So it just gives a lot of exposure, and I think it's really nice because it's helping authors understand the
Yeah.
world of books.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have like carved out this little
Mhm.
niche of like putting together collections as being the thing that you do, and
Yeah,
and getting really good at doing that one thing is awesome, because once you guys are the best at it, you'll be known for that.
exactly.
That's dope. That's dope. I understand like almost how very different it would be to publish one lone writer's like full length novel among all these collections, because it does seem like you guys are you have a goal in mind, don't you, with what you're doing here? You're trying
Yeah,
specifically to help these little guys move up, right?
exactly. And feel comfortable with working with editors and publishers, because we work with a lot of we do a lot of new and seasoned authors, and some of the new authors haven't really had their stories edited, or they're not necessarily bad authors, but they might not hit the theme, or because we try to keep our genres like PG-13, a little
Mm,
R, but not really like overly sexual or overly violent,
Sure.
and you know, the writers don't have to get published in our
Yeah.
thing, but you know, if they want to be published, sometimes they have to like cut stuff out, and but we try to respect everyone. But you know, with that, they've learned how to work with editors and publishers, so it's very nice.
And
Yeah,
you
that's part
know,
of it too.
yeah.
You know, if you're trying to become part of this like collection, like it's very important for the flow to be right in the book. So I hear where you're coming from, Jonathan. I'm sorry I cut you off.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just gonna add to that that, like, we do a lot of developmental editing, which most
Yeah.
big, houses just don't have the time or bandwidth or maybe desire to do, which means we gotta do a lot of work with I think with
Sure.
most, anthologies that are bigger, like, they get a lot of stories and they pick just the best ones and they publish those. We do get quite a bit, but when we like a story, even if it's rough, we'll be like, "Hey, this needs a
Mhm.
lot of work. Do you wanna work with us on it?" And, most of the time they're like, "Yeah." And so I think we've got some of
Dope.
our favorite stories that like
Well,
in
and yeah, I'm probably gonna say the same thing as you. Like in Deluxe Darkness, there was one story
yeah,
that needed a lot of work, and there were certain parts of it, like the theme it was a little inappropriate, and there were just like certain texts that just like didn't really work exactly.
necrophilia.
Um, but the fact of like being the author was willing to work with us, and so we were happy. And now because the author's like writing is good, like they have such like there's certain sentences that are so amazing. It's like one of my favorite stories now.
Yeah, it's
Um,
easily one of my top favorite
yeah.
stories.
Crazy how that can like turn around on you too, right? Like even your own stories that you write, sometimes you find one that you just I'm not feeling it, it's not working, blah, blah,
Yeah.
and then you find like that one thing that just fits like a puzzle, and
Yes.
now it's awesome.
Exactly.
Right on. Okay, so with you guys doing this sort of like collection oriented uh structure to your business, where do you see it going next then? I know you said you haven't ruled out like putting out full-length novels and whatnot, but so where do you see your actual like you know um um your brand and everything going?
Well, we do have the next few years planned out. And then I'm not really sure. I think when
Mhm.
Liz gets back from from studying abroad, we're gonna have to figure out our business plan for
Mhm.
after 2023 or whatever it is. But
Yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say one thing I'd like to see, and maybe this is not the best time to have our discussion, but like would be maybe to venture into solo
yeah,
anthologies, like with some of our featured authors. Like maybe we could start with us. Like I've been writing a lot of horror flash fiction, so maybe that would be a good way to get started. Is like something like that, and Liz is writing some poetry, and we publish poetry too, so that might be a good way to go. And then maybe some of our other authors we can work with that we like. So that's one
yeah,
idea.
and I do like that idea a lot because the thing is, um, it's nice to have the theme of collections. I like the idea of novels in the future too. But I don't see novels happening for another several years unless it
Yeah,
was a really published or a polished novel.
Mm.
Just because that time that the
The
time it would take
process
to
that
do
it takes,
developmental,
yeah.
yeah.
and I
Yeah.
would
So
probably consider that with one of our authors that we've worked with more than one time.
yeah,
I
exactly.
wouldn't want to work with a
Interesting.
first time author on that.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
eventually, like if yeah, and you know, having us like grow and expand would be really helpful with like different like getting more editors and stuff. That would
Yeah,
once we'd
that
have
would change
that,
the game for sure. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But at right now, I think at our level, I think I like the idea of the collective works, you know, doing, like the stories that Jonathan had mentioned, and then, you know, maybe poetry of mine. And then maybe if another author that we really liked, you know, had collections of stories they wanted to pick and like do, like that would be really great. So,
Right
yeah,
on.
it's all up in the air.
Now, and I definitely know what you mean about putting out a novel of one of the writers that you've already worked with several times. You know who the writer is, you know what kind of stuff they do, you know how you work together, you've got a rapport going on and everything like that. For a
Exactly.
longer process like putting out a novel, I can definitely see that. You did throw in the caveat though that if it was already like really polished up and finished. And so I got
Mhm.
my eye on y'all. Um
Well,
what
because I think polish would be just fine, but yeah,
yeah,
it
yeah.
would just depend.
What what do you guys do as far as marketing goes when it comes to, putting out each one of these collective tales releases?
Well, we don't really spend a lot of money. We've tried a little bit, but I think the best approach that we've had is just Instagram.
Yeah. Word of
So
mouth.
yeah, and word of mouth is big. We get pretty good reviews, which is I think really important. So like
Yeah, and
yeah,
even just like reviews, just having reviews too,
Mm,
being out there.
yeah.
yeah, and
The
we
more
sell our
reviews,
books,
the better.
Yeah.
in person, and then we usually do pretty okay. And
Mhm.
we set up a table somewhere, like at the outside a haunted house. You actually do pretty well.
Yeah, like you did, like just barely.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
on.
So just being in the action.
The
Or
deluxe darkness there that you showed me earlier, I was just gonna say that the cover is actually really, really nice. What kind of cover designers do you guys work with? Like who does these
So
for you?
right now, the one we worked with for Collective Darkness, Deluxe Darkness, and then Collective Fantasy, which is the next one that's coming out.
Hmm.
That's her name is uh I can actually get her. She actually is a person I just found like just on Reedsy. Um and so I could actually, I don't know if, but it's Natasha McKenzie, and so
Oh, cool.
she's really nice.
yeah,
I should,
I love the cover.
no, she's really nice. Yeah.
What's that process like with the cover designer? Like the back and
Mhm.
forth? Like how involved are you guys? Do you just give them an idea and they run with it? How does that work?
I'm not sure
Well,
about
it
the first.
depends. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm not sure about the first one because that was all Liz, but on the second one, I was kind of involved in that, and we had talked about kind of having a theme because we really like the bats at the top, and so we're
Mhm.
like, well, let's do that with the fantasy book, but we can't obviously
Yes.
do something horror. So, I had an idea. What if it was instead of bats, it was like flowers with thorns and vines instead. So there's like,
Oh, the Collective Fantasy cover is so good. I'm so excited. We should do a cover reveal soon.
so yeah. So I kind
Uh,
of had this idea,
I'm
and
excited to
then
see it.
Liz was like, "Here's what we were thinking," and then we kind of went back and forth and adjusted it so that it
yeah,
feels similar.
she's like really professional too. I do like Natasha. You know, she's been in the game for a while, so she kind of knows, like she does a lot of stuff for us too, where it's like, oh, she'll put it on the cover, she'll make the back cover, spine, and front cover. And then she'll also give like these little social media infographics. Not all cover designers do that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because it's not
Okay.
that difficult to do them.
Yeah.
But I've liked her. We've worked with Austin too on some of the smaller covers when we did the separate Cute at First Meet. He did that when he was like an ebook and stuff, but
Right on.
yeah, that was just like a different theme. But-
And so now that Collective Fantasy is coming out, what's going to be the next collection that folks still have time to get in on?
Oh, that the we close? I think we closed Collective Visions.
Well, I think technically it's closed, but we didn't make the final decision. So I think if somebody really wanted to slip one in, I think would be cool checking it.
Yeah, because
Maybe.
I think it would have just barely closed, or it's going to close very soon. So if someone's really interested on this
Yeah.
live, or the video,
Yeah.
that would be fine.
I would
So
probably
what's
say
the
though.
so what's Collective Visions then? Is that like sci-fi?
Mhm.
Yes, Lost in Transmission is the theme.
I like it.
So
I
yeah.
like it. All right.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
fun. I was gonna
So,
say,
oh yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
just to say, like, really, probably, we would probably want to mention that people should be looking towards the Collective Chaos or the Collective Humanity one.
Yes.
Those ones are open. So
Those are still open.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely what I wanted to know. So, how can they submit their stuff? I'm guessing through the Collective Tales
Yeah. Go into the
website.
website
Here, I'll
and
pull it up for you guys.
yeah, so
CTP fiction.
ctpfiction.com. And then it'll just take you to a page where you can just send like an email, and then just attach your document, give us a cover letter. Well, you don't have to do the cover letter necessarily, but try to introduce yourself, what your story is. It's really nice to have like a description in the email instead of just a blank text with the document, because it gets confusing, because we have a lot of anthologies coming out. And so if you just like send us one, we're not going to know necessarily what it's for. So yeah, these are some of our different little info like social media graphics, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a really nice website. It's sleek. I like it.
Thanks.
Yeah, Liz
Got the
does a
blog
good
on there
job
too.
with our website.
I
And we also
know.
have a blog on there. We don't post every week, but maybe we should.
All
Well,
right,
we
it's-
post things on like updates, and we just barely had a contest on 101 lessons were learned. Darkness 101 lessons were learned, and
You're gonna get it right one of these days.
one day. But yeah. Oh man, I know I got it wrong.
We got a
Oh,
lot
well.
of good submissions, and what I want to do is see if we can get more people to submit and then publish them like maybe next Halloween.
nice.
Yeah, because it's really fun to get. I love contests. I think it's a really fun way to get people just like involved, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
And it's an option to like if people want to get published, it's like a really quick ebook you could publish, you know. 101 stories like that are all just like 101 words is nothing, you know. But
Yeah, little short like flash fiction pieces almost. Yeah. For
exactly.
sure. So what has been the most like surprising moment for Collective Tales so far?
Well, I guess I was surprised that our first book was a bestseller
Oh yeah,
right away.
you got bestseller. I know.
I mean,
That's
not to
dope.
put us down, but I'm like, I guess it's a lot easier than I thought.
Well, it's all about
You don't have
engagement
to sell that many, I think.
algorithm.
You know,
You know,
it's good to be humble, Jonathan, but there's a line. Yeah.
No, you're getting me wrong though. I'm not saying that we're really great. We sold 1 million copies. I'm saying, wow, the bar is so low that we easily passed.
I understand exactly what you're saying. That's too much humility. You need to beef it up a little bit, bring out the confidence. You guys earned that bestseller, man.
But we brag about it all the time.
Good.
And I always feel kind of funny because
as you should.
Yeah, like we were okay. So the thing is, Amazon has a lot of little categories. So
yeah, that's
find
true.
your niche
Yeah.
and you own it. You know, then that's
But that's the way, man. Because I'll tell you what, that little like bestseller like #1 sticker that you does a lot.
Yeah, so like
more people are gonna pick up that book because of that little sticker, bro.
We were #1 for new horror anthologies on Amazon, and then we were in the top 100 for just horror anthologies, which is good company because if you look at the top 100 list, and we were in and out of that for a number
we're
of months.
still in and out of it sometimes, depending on like in Halloween. So
yeah, I mean we're kind of cooled down a bit, but anytime we have a push, it usually ends up back in there.
Yeah.
But like in there, there's like first of all, half the category is owned by Stephen King because he has apparently a lot of.
he has like
There's a lot of
40.
books.
Yeah,
And then who else is in there?
He puts out a book every month. He's
There are a few authors that are just always in there. That would be King and Poe and Lovecraft. These guys who have these short story collections that are just always going to be in there.
Yeah, they're never going anywhere.
But the fact that we are in there for a little while and we get out and we get back in, like it's pretty, I think, kind of cool.
Dope.
Yeah, I think that's what surprises me. That it's like really nice. Is the fact that it's we keep getting back into it.
Yeah, I kind of want to be like, I want to write a letter to Stephen King and be like, stop, just quit it. It's going to be 100. The top 100 results are just going to be Stephen King anthologies, and
make a little room for the rest of us. Yeah, I hear you.
Take a vacation, dude. Come on.
Do you guys only do Amazon, or do you also put your books into booksellers as well?
Oh yeah, we do local bookstores. We have tons of local bookstores that we do in Utah. We also use the bookshop online. It's in our anthologies are in Barnes and Noble, and then Walmart,
Nice.
Target. All the big stores will sell it online. So like Barnes and Noble.
Because we go through Ingram Spark, and so we have like the wholesaler thing. So
awesome.
And then locally, anyone who's from Utah, our new book is at Marissa's right now, and 9th and 9th Music Gallery and Bookstore. Book and Music Gallery. Oh man, I always get confused.
And then King's English for Collective Darkness.
Yeah, and so a lot of other bookstores have our Collective Darkness too.
Very cool. All right. So with that's a good segue. Do you guys host like in real life events? Or did you before COVID? I don't know, like what you guys do now.
we formed our business in the shadow of an epidemic or a pandemic.
I know. Yeah, we haven't really done a lot of in-person events because like COVID has been like this thing over our heads.
Yeah.
So we are starting to. We were invited by one bookstore, the 9th and Ninth Music, Book and Music Gallery, to their party. They had an anniversary party, and they invited us to come do a book signing. And we've done online events with like Wheeler Bookworks and some other places. And so now that things are starting to get cleared up, we have other bookstores that wanted to invite us to things. And when Liz gets back from the UK, I think we're going to, when she's here for Christmas or holiday break, we're going to probably do some events for the collective fantasy book.
Cool.
Yes.
Very nice. All right. And people can find out about those through your Instagram and your website, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make-
Yeah.
very good.
We'll once we have that, we'll post it on we can make a blog, and we always do everything. The most if you want to stay the most up to date, do our Instagram, because it's like very quick. Like we'll get the blog up, but like it's, if you want instant, it's more Instagram.
Cool. Is there anything specific or unique about the way you guys do things that people need to know about your contracts or anything like that? The sort of legal side of publishing.
Yeah,
Dun,
no.
dun,
So
dun.
mostly we just want people to be willing to work with us, and people can break the contract if they want. Like we're not holding you for your entire life, but it is an agreement. It is something where you be professional. It's we don't have anything too weird. We just want something basic that we're both like mutual parties are respecting each other. And yeah, we try to tell like what our expectations are already in person. I mean, obviously read the contract before you sign, but we try to give you like a really like good understanding of what's already like expected.
Right on.
Yeah, one thing I think that I wanted to add after our first book was, and we were both agreed on this, but like there's a stipulation in there that our writers will share
Oh yeah, with
stuff
marketing.
on social
We
media.
did add, yeah, we did add that. Where
Because
it's like we want marketing, you don't have to pay for it, but it's okay. It's just talk a little bit about it. Be willing,
Yeah.
I'm amazed at how many writers do not talk about the books they've been published in or the stories that they sold or anything like that. And it's like, what I always say this thing that people make fun of me for, but it's like books don't sell themselves.
Yeah.
Authors have to sell the books,
Yeah, even just like adding it to your story on Instagram will make a huge difference. Or just sharing the thing that we shared, right? You don't have we don't require that much work. It's just more like having like
participate.
your friends see. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we love our writers.
What about literary agents? You have to deal with them, writers, like any like between stuff. Literary agents.
Sorry, you cut out a little bit. If you're with literary agents, we haven't really worked with literary agents. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was basically my question.
Yeah.
No, I mean, for like an anthology.
Maybe in the future, I would be fine. We do a lot of just open stuff for just people to join in, but we haven't really worked with literary
I think
agents.
if we ever started working with, on novels and things like that, maybe. But.
Yeah, if we did novels, that would be when I think we would start working that way.
So, so how about profits and royalties and stuff like that? How's that work? Broad strokes.
So a lot of our money goes towards just the creation of the books and like the events and that sort of thing. But we have started now, like, anytime we have an author who's sending us like like one of their short stories, we pay $15 for that short story. If it's a poem or like a flash fiction story, then we'll pay like $10, $5 to $10 depending on the size and stuff. But we want the authors to be compensated. So.
Yeah, and and the reason that we do that, I mean, it's not enough money to even be worth it, honestly. I mean, when you spend that much time writing a thing, you're getting paid like $1 an hour or something, right? But like, it's about being professional versus amateur, right? Like the difference between a professional and amateur is a paid check. So like when I get paid for a story that I submit somewhere, I'm like, great, I sold a story. Someone paid me money for it. And if it's just like published without getting paid, I kind of feel like,
Well, yeah.
And so So we're working off of that mentality, and we wish we could pay more. And I think once we start making more, then we can afford to pay more. But right now, our costs and our profits are like, yeah. So
right on. All right. Well, we're gonna transition a little bit into the topic in a minute here. I wanted to take a brief second to run something by the audience at home here, if you guys will allow me a moment. Let me, yeah, let's do this. So on my Instagram, guys, first of all, y'all should be following me on Instagram. What are you doing? There's the link tree right here. If you click on the link tree, it takes you obviously to, oh, hold on. That's not gonna work. One sec. Here we go. All right. So, the squiggly one at the top is the guest application form for the Books by Adrian podcast and for Livestream Sunday season 4. I'm starting to plot out season 4 right now. We have 4 episodes left in this season, and then we're going on hiatus for 2 months. I'll be putting out videos in that time, but while we're on hiatus, I'll be building the next season. So if anybody out there is an author or an otherwise creative person, artist, director, photographer, whatever, musician, whatever your passion is, if it's creative and interesting and you want to share it with people, fill this application out. Let's, work on scheduling together and make it happen. One thing that I also wanted to mention that I never talk about, I don't know how many people know this about my Instagram, but if you are battling with writer's block or anything like that, and sometimes writing prompts don't work for me because I'm more of a visual person. I don't know about you guys, but like I see a writing prompt and it doesn't really spark story ideas, but I see an image and I get story ideas. So I have a collection on here of different images that I've collected on Instagram over the years that inspire my stories. And so if you're battling with writer's block, you want an idea for something cool, just go into here and browse around and see what jumps out at you, and you're going to come out of this collection with a story idea. I think like there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. That's really it. All right. Thank you guys. Let's go into the topic. So today's topic is, a discussion centered around the differences between one's creativity and the business mind that is so necessary for professional success. You guys already talked earlier about, when you're putting these short story collections together, having to ask of the authors to make little changes here and there in order to, be a better fit for the book. I understand this to be in an effort to make the book more successful in the long run. So, being both writers yourselves and now publishers, what challenges commonly arise rather for you between the writer's draft and publishing? Like, what are some of the struggles that come out of that left brain, right brain kind of meld?
Should I go first? Sure.
Sure.
This is one of my favorite topics, and I can be kind of brutal about it. But like,
Hit me.
So, sometimes we have to be delicate because we're all authors, and then we have our little precious babies, and we don't want our feelings hurt, and we love this whole thing, right?
Pansies, man up. Here we go.
Yeah, but then if you want to be treated as a professional writer, I think you need to be more flexible. Like you've got to be thinking, okay, so there's a market, right? And there's a reader, and there's a publisher and an editor, and all these people have ideas of what they think is the best idea for a story. Now we have different hats, right? Me, the artist, is like, oh, well, you have your own vision or whatever, But me, the publisher or co-publisher, I should say, my hat is like, well, what does the reader want? What is the reader going to appreciate the most? This isn't really about making so and so feel better about their story. It's about making sure readers like our story, and then we get good reviews, and we sell lots of books, and we become famous and rich and fabulous. To a certain degree, there should be a balance. We publish what we like to read and what we think is good, but at the same time, we got to publish what's popular. I guess is a kind of a dirty word.
Yeah.
Well, they're popular for a reason, right?
Marketable.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that there is definitely a balance. And I think it makes it a lot easier when you start exposing yourself to it more, like going to critique groups, going to even just presentations with publishers or agents or even other writers, being able to be okay, because it does hurt, but you have to think about, like, why are you letting your work hurt you? When people critique it, they're not trying to hurt you personally. They're trying to make it better, or not even better, just show their opinion. And so there's no, whenever I'm critiquing someone, I'm never attacking that person. I'm just trying to understand or make the story better. And so once you understand that, I think that makes it a lot easier. And then it just becomes easier in general to, publish and edit and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think for me, the way I do it is I separate the story or the work from myself.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you
and
have
it's
to.
its own entity that is its own thing. Because I write, sometimes a lot of my stories are good, and sometimes they're bad, sometimes they're terrible. And they can get better, or sometimes you just got to table it. But that doesn't reflect on me. I could be a great writer or a terrible writer or whatever, but it's about the piece, the individual story. And what our job is to make it as best as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I talk a lot on this channel about like the editing process in general, and when you send your stuff off to editors and critique partners and you get your stuff back covered in red. I know so many authors who dread that process and are always upset at all the red or whatever it is, and I just I don't understand that, because in my mind I'm coming from where you're coming from, which is I want to put out the best book possible. I want to put out the thing that is gonna just blow up, and that's not gonna happen if I just write it by myself and then like chuck it at somebody. Like I need editors, I need critique partners, and I need them to send my stuff back covered in red so that I can find every teeny tiny little thing that I can fix. And I like to remind people that the other side of that is that you, as the writer, when you get that manuscript back with all that red in it, you still get to make choices. Just because there's all that red doesn't mean that you have to make every single change that is being told to you. You still get to weigh, okay, how does this work with my story? Is this actually what I'm trying to do, or is this what he's trying to do, or whatever? Like, you can still get a great other edit out of that. You know what I mean? Another draft out of that. And anything that makes your story better is only beneficial to you. So don't be afraid of it.
And that's what I don't understand. Like, it's never a personal attack, and and I really like what you're saying.
It's a product.
Exactly. You're putting out a product. Yeah. Well, and I like what you're saying about the being covered in red, because the thing is you do have a choice. And honestly, that's why you want to take your story to multiple beta readers, because those readers, those early readers, will all have their own opinions, and you're not going to take suggestions from all of them. You don't want to, right?
Right.
But they're all going to have different comments, different red marks. But if you look at what is the common theme, maybe something like, oh, this is really confusing, I have no idea what's going on, or, oh, this character just seemed really out of place here. Just looking at the common themes and then considering changing those. But everything else, I think, is completely just your choice.
Yeah.
The color red is interesting, right? Because it's like learning and blood and death. But, it's also the color of love and romance, right? So maybe you should think about it like, oh, someone took the time.
Passion.
Red
is passion.
Show me all the ways that my story can be better. Like, what a loving, generous use of their time,
Aww.
Very well said, my friend. Very well said. All right, we have a couple of questions from the chat, so let's switch over to the final segment. All right. So first up, we have it's my hello, Sid. All right. All right. What did you guys want for your company practices that you felt was lacking with others? So, in other words, starting out your own company, what did you decide you were going to do differently from everybody else?
Well, for me, I think it was we mentioned a little bit earlier, but it was the community, where I feel like a lot of times when you go to a big publisher, it feels, and this isn't every single publisher, but sometimes there is that cold aspect, right? There's more of a like, get this done, move on. We just want your product. But we want to be more of like, this is a family. We're
Mm.
building you up and we're learning together and we're enjoying each other's company, kind of. So
Yeah, definitely for me, I think that's a big aspect of it. Collaboration. I mean,
collaboration, yeah.
collective is a word we take serious. And I think one thing that we do differently is and I mentioned this earlier, but we take the time to work with new authors or like
Yes.
authors that have never been published or are self-published or indie published. And so I think we're giving them a chance that they may not, like they might get lost sending their stories to like some of the bigger places or,
Yeah.
and we take the time that when we find the stories we like to like give them the time and love that they need and the support. So
Yeah. Because how are they supposed to learn and become better writers?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right on. Okay. How do you split up the work in your publishing company between you?
So for me, I do a lot of the kind of boring stuff, the spreadsheets, the business. Oh, I love all this stuff. It's not boring to me.
I was going to
Um,
say, well, because when you said you do the boring stuff, my first thought was that you do the Instagram stuff and all
well,
the pictures and
Instagram
stuff. That's
too.
fun. That's a
I
lot of fun.
She does the
so I
fun
do
part of
the
Instagram. I do the
acting.
boring parts of it.
Jonathan does like the promoting and stuff. But I do a lot of the business stuff, and then we split up with we'll both edit and we both like format and proofread. We kind of go and like we'll work together and then we'll do it separate and then work together. So it's like a lot of back and forth with that. Uh,
Right
Yeah.
yeah.
on.
And then we kind of also sometimes we'll on a specific book we kind of will take a lead almost on it,
Mhm.
like with the darkness between. That was
Yeah.
kind of my baby, and while I was working, I mean we both work on it, but like while
Yeah.
I
Yes.
was heading that up, Liz was heading up the collective fantasy, and so
That
Mhm.
was
we
more
were
her
both
baby.
involved a lot, but like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just it makes it
But
easier
it
when you
gave
have
a
yeah.
different leader who could work with the authors one on one.
Well, then that sort of actually dovetails into the next question because that's if you both review everything that is submitted, or if you guys like kind of divvy it up. Like you said, it sounds like one of you is taking the lead on each project, but you're still both involved.
Well, yeah, when it comes to like copy editing, this is Liz's preferred method, and I actually enjoy it a lot too. Is we'll sit down together and just go through it, and one of us will read it, and we'll make the changes as we go, and compile a list and email it, and
Yeah, but
send it.
if we're looking at actual stories, though, we do have blind judges. So it does go through like a
Cool.
tier system. There are some authors we've worked with before or who we want to work with, who we will talk to them and ask if they will submit. We don't immediately accept their story. We're just asking if they'll submit. So there's not necessarily a guarantee, but we're kind of sure just because
Oh,
they're good
nothing is
writers.
more tragic than when you read a novel and you love the author, and then ask them to submit, and then like the story is like not a good fit.
Mm.
It's like, oh
Yeah.
no, what have we done?
Yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
you invited them, and then you got to tell them. Actually,
But that's why we
Yeah,
have blind judges. So
yeah.
that they
The real reason we have blind judges is because we don't want to have to like burn
the
bridges
little
with people.
fallback. Yeah, yeah. The fallback. Well, and you guys are dovetailing these really well because the next question is whether or not a submission has come in that you both disagreed on whether to publish it or not, and how did you handle that situation?
I think
If so.
we've had a couple instances where we may have disagreed, and I think I'm thinking of one in the darkness between where Liz I think didn't really like it because it was too
it was
different
just
or
very
whatever.
different. Yeah, I don't feel like it necessarily fit.
I thought it was pretty good, but like we ended up publishing it anyway.
We
But
ended
Liz
up
just learned
publishing,
about it
yeah.
so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair, and since I think one of the reasons we ended up with that decision is because that was my lead book, I guess. Because there are stories in the collective fantasy that I'm like, oh, I shouldn't say that out loud. That I'm like, oh, I probably wouldn't have gone with this one.
Yeah.
A couple that I'm like, you know.
Yeah, but they
But
had already gone through the blind judges, and then
Yeah.
it was like, we conversed. One of us, so it's just kind of like, okay, who has the last say, sort of
yeah,
thing.
and that's why it's kind of nice to have a sort of an assigned person to it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
and we never finished. So we talked about what Liz was doing with. She does like the website and SEOs
Mhm.
and stuff.
sorry.
I
Yeah, go
do.
ahead.
One of the big things I do is we're both really involved in social media, but I do a lot of the
He does the majority, honestly. He does
yeah.
tons.
So I'll take lots of pictures and send them to Liz and edit them, and she'll post them and whatever on her thing, and I'll post them on some of the other accounts that we both do. But with the videos and things, like a lot of
You edit
them
them.
I'll start,
Yeah.
but most of them Liz will start, and then we'll record them and edit them, and we have a studio, and so that's a big thing we do for marketing. So
Yeah.
Cool. So, publishing more than short stories. What about poetry?
We do have poetry. Deluxe Darkness was the one that we first, kind of tried our hand in poetry. We don't
Okay.
have any poetry in collective fantasy, but that is something that I do think we should have.
well, technically, Little Darkness, I had a poem published in. That was
Yeah,
our first one.
that was the very first one. But then in Deluxe Darkness, that was one where we really started to get like, okay, let's do poetry, let's do flash fiction. That we
Mm.
really got into the different avenues. So I'm sure in Collective Visions, it would be really great to have.
And then we're gonna have a companion book called Little
Yes,
Fantasy, and that I have a poem that's gonna
yeah,
be
that'll have shorter stories and poems and stuff. And same
Nice.
with Collective Visions, we'll have a little visions and stuff. So
Oh, and Collective Humanity already we
yeah,
have some poetry that's been accepted. So
So it's
yeah,
a nice little mix inside each of these collections. Then I like it.
exactly.
Right on. What is the best marketing tactic you found worked for your company?
just so kind of a strategy we've developed on social media is we post a lot of things that have nothing to do with our product that
To
people
get
love,
people excited.
and then we'll
Okay.
sneak in some here and there.
No,
And
see, that's the thing is like I like to believe with my cosplay, I'm getting people excited for reading because it's
Mm-hmm.
always book themed. So if
Mm,
you watch it and go, wow, that's really cool. And then you could be like, oh, I could do that same thing by reading with my imagination or something.
yeah.
right on. Yeah, definitely. And that's funny because her next question, same person's next question was, and that's Shannon, by the way. Her next question is, you mentioned Instagram. She's horrible with social media. She says, "What is one trick for using Instagram as a marketing tactic?" Jonathan, you mentioned putting
Yeah.
out something that has absolutely nothing to do with your product, and then
Well,
like sneaking one
yeah.
in every now and then.
Yeah, so like we both have pretty popular accounts. I mean, hers is more popular, but for reasons that I think are probably obvious. But
Somebody's salty.
Just a little bit.
there's no shortcut. I think I see so often this these indie authors, they like, oh, I got my book, I'm ready to market it. They get on Instagram, they post a picture of their book, they post another picture of the book, they post the same picture of their book, and then there's 10 pictures of their book.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't do the groundwork to be part of the community. They're not engaging with the community. They're not.
Yeah.
There's no personality. Their account is just their same books over and over again,
Yeah.
which I don't want to see the same people's books over and over again. So I wouldn't want to see that. So that's not what we do, you know.
Yeah,
And
you
then we
wouldn't
do,
follow them.
yeah,
Yeah. I've seen several authors come onto Instagram and not even like first time authors. You know what I mean? Like they've been around and they'll come on Instagram and I swear every single post on Instagram is the exact same image. Maybe it's not of
Yeah.
their book, but it's the exact same image over and over and over again.
yep,
And I'm like, you don't know how Instagram works. Like you don't
yeah.
get
Nobody wants to see
it. This is not nice. Like you're just scrolling through there and it's just the same.
No,
Wow.
it's
Yeah. So
terrible.
like, you know, it should be a mix of things that people just enjoy, that or the kind of people that would read your book. So
Yeah.
like I found on early on that like, you know, I make videos that I'm in sometimes, or sometimes Liz is in, or whatever, you know, our reels are sometimes really popular, But sometimes I make the book videos with my kids, and people like those. So, so I exploit my children for profit.
Well, and hey, I do have to say that your kids really want to do it. Like, I feel like
Oh,
whenever I've been in, like when we're working together, um, the Hazel's like the older one is always like, "Okay, Liz, when are you gonna do a video with me? Like, are we going to do like?" And it's kind of like because she'll always ask on the days that we're like editing, so it'll be like, "Well, no, we can't do this right now. Like,
Yeah.
let's plan for it." But
yeah. Actually, even my youngest started getting involved because what happened was Hazel would see the videos. She loves watching the videos, and so she's like, "I have an idea. I want to make my own video." And all our videos are about people opening a book and they turn into a character from the book. That's kind of this theme that I came up with, and then I'm so lazy that we just do it over and over again. But if it's not broke, don't fix it, I guess. And then now Lucy, my youngest, is like sees Hazel doing it, and she's like, I want to do it. So now, yeah, and they read little kid books, but the idea is the same.
Yeah. All right. As editors, when proofreading, how do you keep yourself from editing and only proofread? How do you turn off that edit?
Well, I mean,
Interesting question.
if you edit it correctly,
You
copy
shouldn't
edit it.
have to. Yeah. If
You don't
if you
need to
edit
fix
it correctly, then you should only be proofreading, and
Yeah.
and
right.
if you do find something needing editing along the way, then you should edit it. Like even if you are in the
Exactly.
proofreading phase.
I mean, you find things sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it gets extra stressful. So we have audiobooks that we're doing. So the Collective Darkness one, and then we're gonna have a Collective Fantasy one. And it does get a little stressful with because you need it on Audible. It needs to exactly match the
Mm.
text to your
So
audio.
if there's a typo,
You
the
have to
voice.
find that before you send it to the narrators.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if it's
So
something,
it
if
does get
it's
a
a
little
misspelling, I
stressful.
think it's okay. It's like,
And then but like proofreading or not even just like with formatting, like looking at the
Yeah.
formatting is fine. But yeah, there is a point when we're doing the audiobooks where I get really stressed. I'm like, okay, we have to make sure it's all perfect. But
All
yeah.
right, let's do the final question here before we wrap up the show. If someone wanted to dip a toe into publishing an anthology of other works, what advice would you give to get started?
ooh, okay. So assuming that you have publishing experience like we did, I've interned with real publishers, and that's where I got my experience. And I have a degree, so and I've worked on staff. So I think having that experience is really kind of important.
Mhm.
But if you don't know what you're doing, you can find yourself getting over your head over water pretty fast, because you need to know how to do the software for
Yeah,
publishing.
InDesign is I would highly stress InDesign because it's the
Yeah,
publishing standard.
yeah, that's the one I was trained with in school. And I assume that whoever asked probably knows how to copy edit pretty well. Other than that, I mean, you can put out a call and invite people
Mhm.
to edit, but you should not do it alone. I don't think. I think,
It's always nice to have at least a friend
yeah,
because they're going to, even if you're the head editor and you're the one who's calling all the shots, just having one other person to look at the work to be like, hey, you missed this one extra period on this one page. Like they'll just catch that because you'll be blind to it because you'll have read that same stuff over and over again. And you can do this weird thing that I like to do when I get really burnt out with a story. Here's my secret.
Mm.
I will I will copy and paste it into a text to speech editor and then I'll have my little robot read to me so
it's the
it
worst
forces me
voice.
to read every single line.
Nice.
I
That's good
I will
advice.
say,
Yeah.
in lieu of like an internship opportunity, we have taken a few people under our wing and kind of given them opportunities to
Yeah.
learn. So if any of your listeners actually want to be involved, on our next anthology, you can help. You can be a junior editor or something, or we're happy to answer questions too.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, all your links are down below. So if anybody wants to get in contact with these two fine people, go ahead and go down into the downstairs, as we call it on this channel, and click on their stuff. Go over and send them your short stories and whatnot. Let's see if we can get into these collections, guys. I'm gonna give you guys the floor one final time to say goodbye to everybody. Let them know if there's anything that you are putting out right now. Again, I think that the next collective fantasy is coming up. So, you know what, Liz, we're gonna go with you first. Here we
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it was great chatting with everyone. If you want to submit to any of our anthologies, talk to us about the Collective Visions, because since you all watch this channel, just email us and say that you had chatted and you saw us on this channel, and then and we'll give you an option to submit to that. And then with the Collective Chaos and then the Collective Humanity, all that information is on our website that you can submit to. And then just make sure to engage and like and subscribe and have lots of fun on our Instagram and just say hi, right?
Beautiful.
Also, if you are a romance writer or just want to have romance in your stories, we're members of the League of Utah Writers romance chapter. Elizabeth is actually the president. I am a nobody, but I help out here and there. And how do they sign? If they want to attend that? What is the website, Liz?
Oh yeah. I can send it, but it's luwromance.wordpress.com. So you can also just go to LUW Romance Facebook group and you'll find us.
And when is that conference? It's like February, April?
The second Saturday in January.
Oh, January.
January 8th.
That's soon.
All right.
And then that one's going to be a $5 right now, and then $10, like $5 to attend. And then if right now, and then later it'll be 10, and then the week of is 15. So.
All right. Well, you guys have new followers coming your way already. Looks like Colin's gonna have to catch most of the show on the replay, but thanks for coming out, Colin. To my sis, thank you very much. Shannon, thank you very much for being here, everybody. All right, guys. As for me, as you guys know, all my stuff is in the downstairs, down below, down there. However you want to find me, I've made it incredibly easy to do so. The links are at the top of the YouTube. There's a link tree. There's all kinds of ways to find all my stuff. So thank you all for coming. Thank you endlessly for being here. Thank you, Elizabeth and Jonathan, for both being here as well. And we're gonna go ahead and sign off. Right on, guys.
Cool. Thank you. Bye.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.